Hello? Anybody hear me?
Hey folks, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we can.
Steve Heron, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yep, I just was having connection problems, but I'm in now. Okay, thanks,
Very well.
Richard. Bye-bye. I'll mention this a couple times as residents come on and they wish to speak tonight. If you could please rename up in the corner, usually you have 3 dots, you could rename and put in your first and your last name so you can be identified. Sorry.
Hey Gwen, Peter Corrigan, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. This isn't Gwen, though.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Gwen, you were on mute.
I know, because the dog
Okay.
was going nuts when my son was coming in. He's got to control him a little bit. Again,
Yeah,
as
I said
people,
the same thing to my sons. Yeah. My son, yeah.
as residents come on, please rename yourself. If you have iPad or just a first name, if you can put your first and last name in so we can identify you if you're going to be speaking tonight. I can try to change you, Todd, if you don't know how to do that. Chris Howard, can you hear me okay? Let's do a test for you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I got you tonight. Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good evening, Gwen. It's Amy.
Hi, Amy.
I'll mute.
Again,
I don't think I have to say anything tonight, so I'm going to remute.
You can remute. Again, I'll remind everybody that is on right now before the meeting starts, I would ask that you change your name on your screen to your full name so we can identify you if you wish to speak this evening. If you don't know how to do it, usually if you go up to three dots, your right-hand corner of the screen, you can hit rename and then type in your name.
Hello.
Hi, Emmy, I can hear you.
I can hear you too.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Excellent. Good to see you.
I don't even have Verizon and I can hear you. How's everyone doing?
Pretty good. You understand that I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and what we have on the ground is a major winter storm, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm from New York, so this is nothing.
This is July. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, we get like hundreds of feet a year. Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Again, I'm going to remind everyone, I have more people jumping on. I have a couple of you, Owner and Cliff, if you guys would identify yourself with your first and last name, if you wish to speak this evening, as you'll need to, that way we can identify you, plus you need to say your name and address if you do wish to speak. And I thank you in advance. And I'll probably say this a couple more times. I have Owner listed. Are you planning on speaking this evening? You'll need to unmute. Owner, are you wishing to speak this evening?
I do not.
You do not. Okay, great. Thank you.
Unmute. Why is it muted?
iPhone. Is that you, Diane Martin, up there?
No, Catherine Radiff.
Oh, you look like Diane Martin. Okay, do you know how to rename are you planning on speaking this evening?
I'm staying for the meeting, yes.
No, are you speaking this evening?
I wrote a letter.
Okay, but if you're speaking, I need for you to change your name so we can identify you if you're ready to speak later on in the meeting.
Okay, I'll probably just listen since I wrote the letter. You guys all have my letters.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep you muted then. Okay, Steve. I have 6:01. I'll kind of try to watch the screen to keep letting people in.
Thank you. Do you have an idea of how many people are on now?
I have one full screen only. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I show 38 people, Gwen.
38, thanks.
25. All right. Oh, I got another screen. Hold on a minute. I got more people coming in.
There's 38 on currently.
Yeah, let me look at my next screen.
Okay.
Yep, I got 2 screens going tonight, so I'll be jumping back and forth, and people are still popping on. So I'm going to let you go, Steve, and then again, if you're on here and you can hear me, and if you're wishing to speak tonight, please identify yourself by your name so we can call on you if you're speaking. If you're just iPad, it's going to make things difficult because you'll need to say your name and address if you do wish to speak, and then I will be the one calling on you when we get to that portion of the meeting. So bear with me because I have 2 screens of people coming tonight. All right, Steve, I think you're good.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the public hearing agenda. We have a public hearing tonight regarding a parcel of land and zoning. Today is Monday, February 1st, 2021. My name is Steve Herron. I'm the president of council. I'm going to go through just a few things before we begin taking public comments. I have allotted 10 minutes for the applicant to present. That they can they are represented by an attorney tonight, so they will have 10 minutes. Then we will go to, because the last time we had a public hearing, we were in person, so I'm kind of going through this a little bit slow, so be patient. Whoever would like to speak, please raise your hand on your device. We need your name, your address, and whether you are a proponent or an opponent. So if you're in favor of the change, simply say I'm in favor of the change. If you're against it, say I'm against it. You will then have 1 minute to explain your position. We do have a list of letters. We did receive 19 letters prior to the Friday at noon deadline. All of the individuals, I'm going to read their names and their streets. All of them were opposed. So we have Jane Niza, Chuck and Margaret Wakefield, Worcester, Laura Miller, Robert Green of Ford Lane, Gino Camarada, the Honorable Elizabeth Wakefield, Rachel Shattuck, Igmar Savala of Park Drive, Robert Risden of Thomas Alva Drive, Diane Erdzik of Ford Lane, Neil Norris of Firestone Lane, Homer Taft of Edgewater Drive, Dwayne Byrne of Edgewater Drive, Harlan and Francis Chapman of Yorktown Place, Gary Lauber, Lynn Spansky, Joe Chiarelli of Ford Lane, Cliff Simonson of Ford Lane, and Paul Russell. All of those individuals were opposed. We did not receive any support letters prior to the Friday deadline.
And Steve, can I add that these letters will be attached to the official record of proceedings, and they will go on the website with the minutes. So everybody will have a chance to read all of the letters. All of city council members have received the letters and they have read them all, just so we add that to the record.
Thank you. And just a couple of things to say this, there's a lot of emotion regarding this matter. I completely understand it. That's why we have these hearings. I want everybody to keep in mind that just because we are having this hearing does not mean that there's any inclination one way or the other. This is a mandatory hearing as this matter came from Planning Commission. The people of the city of Vermilion, I say this quite a bit, have the right to have these matters handled in a civil manner. I will not tolerate innuendos, insults, anything like that. I will remind everybody that several provisions of the Ohio Revised Code relate to people's conduct in meetings, and I will not tolerate any misbehavior. We want to know how you feel about this. We want to know if you're in favor or against it, and we want to know precisely how it will affect you. It's very important that everybody has the opportunity to speak. So with that, I did want to say that the 1 minute comes on after you give us your name, your address, and whether you're for this or against this. We will have this hearing, and then we will take a short break. We will stay on Zoom, and we'll go to our regular city council meeting for tonight. I apologize also in advance. I do have dogs, so I will do everything I can to keep them under control. But so such is life during COVID. I do ask and thank you for your patience. Going online is a challenge. We are everybody's dealing with this kind of in a first way, and this is our first public hearing on virtual method. So thank you all very much. So I'm going to go ahead and read the proposed ordinance, and then we'll go to comments, or then we'll go to the applicant's presentation. Ordinance 2021-3, an ordinance enacted pursuant to Chapter 1266 of the Codified Ordinances of Vermilion, rezoning land in Vermilion, Ohio, and containing an area of approximately 6.323 acres from R-3 Suburban Residence District to B3 Highway Commercial District, land use classification as favorably recommended by the Vermilion Municipal Planning Commission, authorizing the city engineer to amend the official zoning map of the city of Vermilion to conform herewith. The said map has been established by section 1268.02 Codified Ordinances of Vermilion upon the effective date hereof. This matter is set for third reading at tonight's regular council meeting. So with that, Ms. Fisher, do you have people kind of lined up? Why don't you
You
tell
were
them?
gonna let, I believe, maybe Howard Lane speak first this evening, I thought.
Okay, is Mr. Lane? I have
I
this.
saw him on and now I'm trying to find him again. Oh, yep, he is. He's on my first screen. So Mr. Lane, you can go ahead then.
All right, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, President Herron and the other members of council. My name is Howard Lane and I represent the applicant in this matter. With me to speak in support of the application is the owner, Todd Sommer, and also Matt Hassel from Adaptive Engineering Group LLC. Both Mr. Sommer and Mr. Hassel have information relevant to the application, and they can assist in answering any questions that council may have. Last week, I did submit an exhibit packet that contained 8 separate exhibits. They are numbered 1 through 8, and the entire packet has individual page numbers listed on the bottom right-hand corner. I may be referring to those as I make my presentation. Mr. President, is it possible to share any of these documents as I speak?
Yes, usually you can share your screen. I will allow that.
Okay, thank you very much.
And then the record should reflect that we did receive that packet. All council members have received that packet, and council will have the opportunity to ask questions of either of the presenters. So thank you.
Okay, with that, I'd like to start with the application itself. The owner is requesting, as council knows, a zoning reclassification from the R3 Suburban Residence Zoning District to the B3 Highway Commercial Zoning District. A copy of the application for the rezoning is found at Exhibit 1 of the exhibit packet. That is page 1 of the materials that were submitted in support of the application. The property involved is Lorain County Permanent Parcel Number 01-00-004-116-001. And as everyone knows, that's located on Liberty Avenue in Vermilion. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share. I'm getting a message that host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, let me, if you give me 1 minute, I will get a hold of IT because they are the ones doing that. One
Okay,
moment.
well, I'll go ahead and continue until you can get that done, so I'm not wasting any more of my 10 minutes.
No, you're
But,
on pause now. You're on pause now, Counselor. So we're not going to.
All right, thank
No, yeah, he can go on and I'll let
He
him
can
know
go
when
on?
he can
Okay.
share. Yep, he can.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, if you'll refer, if I'm hoping that council has these exhibits in front of them. Exhibit 3, which is Exhibit 2, which is located on page 4 of the materials, is a plat of property reclassification. And this document really gives the best visual for the council to understand what the subject area is of this request for rezoning. You can see from the document that Liberty Avenue is on On the top of the document, which is on the north of the parcel in question, the parcel has a 250-foot, or I should say deep area fronting Liberty Avenue, which is already zoned B3 highway commercial. You can see just to the south of that, there is a darker shaded area, which is referred to on the plat as the area to be rezoned, and it consists of 6.23 acres. Also to the south of that, you can see is the remainder of the parcel. There is a legend on the bottom right-hand corner of the document which designates the different zoning areas and property to be donated, which I'll get into here in just a second. So the request really isn't dealing with the entire parcel. We're just seeking to extend that B3 zoning to the south on a portion of the parcel. All right, now again, referring to the exhibits, there is a site plan, a 2-page site plan that was submitted as Exhibit 4. And as council knows, that this is a hearing on rezoning only. It's not a hearing to approve or disapprove of any particular use of this property. But as everyone knows, there's been a great deal of discussion as to the owner's intended use. So I would be remiss if I did not address that during this presentation. As council is aware, it's the owner's present desire to construct a storage facility on the property. And a plan for such operation was presented as part of the owner's previous request to rezone this area a few months back. Also, as council knows, there were several objections raised at that public hearing on the owner's last application. With this new application, the owner seeks to address many of those objections. He has significantly modified his plans for development, hoping that it will be found more palatable to council. Again, Exhibit 4, which is located on page 8 of the materials. It's a 2-page site plan. It was prepared by Matt Hassel of Adaptive Engineering Group, LLC. You can see, I don't know if I can share yet. Nope, not yet.
Try, was it working yet?
It's not.
I don't know what's going on here.
Okay. Well, again, if you could please refer to that, I'm hoping that you have that in front of you. It's a 2-page site plan, and you can see from the site plan that there have been changes made from the last submission. Most significantly, the use of shipping containers have been completely eliminated.
Try it now.
I'm still getting the same message.
Okay. I don't know what's happening. Sorry.
It's all right. So again, the use of shipping containers has been completely eliminated. The new plan consists of only 5 storage units that are to the front of the area to be, or it's actually to the front of the entire parcel itself. And it also contains, excuse me, a large storage condominium building on the eastern side of the area to be rezoned. Most of the footprint of those 6 buildings are located within the portion of the parcel that is already designated as B3 zoning. However, in order to make the operation doable and profitable sufficiently to go forward, additional space is needed for those buildings. And as you can also see from the site plan, the potential additional storage units that would be just beyond the 250-foot frontage depth area that's shown on the site plan. Also a change, which we feel is a very significant modification, is the addition of a 220-foot buffer area between the area to be rezoned and between the area where this facility would be located and the Hazelwood neighborhood properties to the east.
Howard, you can try it now. I think it's
Okay.
working.
Thank you. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, and so again, you've got this 220-foot area between the facility, the planned facility, and the residential neighborhood to the east that would start all the way up from Liberty Avenue, going the entire length of the proposed area to be rezoned. Lastly, and I think this may have been mentioned in the last hearing, that as part of the development of the property, the owner plans on donating a significant portion of the overall parcel to the Lorain County Metro Parks. So that would be, again, the buffer area that I just mentioned, and the entire southern portion of the parcel would all become part of the county park system so that it could be enjoyed by the citizens of Vermilion and Lorain County. Now, I want to stress that Mr. Sommers has been in the construction and storage industry for decades. He and his family know what they're doing. They're educated on the subject, and they've got plenty of experience. The end result of the proposed construction would be a first-class and aesthetically pleasing storage facility. I'm showing you what has been marked as exhibit, leave it as exhibit 5 of the materials. These are artist renderings, which show the proposed views from the south and from the east, the west off Liberty Avenue. Again, I realize there's been a great amount of concern about the appearance of these of this facility and the buildings. Again, I'm guaranteeing that they will be first-rate and aesthetically pleasing. These are not going to be run down. They are not going to be displeasing to the eye. Mr. Sommers and his family would not permit that to happen. I want to talk about some of the benefits that the proposed rezoning would provide to Vermilion. We would submit that one of the things that it would help with is with business development. Obviously, the first potential benefit is the continued expansion of the desired business development along Liberty Avenue. It would turn a vacant and unproductive parcel into a contributing business operation. We understand that the front of the parcel, the front 250-foot depth area, is already zone B3, but it's limited again to that 250-foot depth. That's
Mr. Lane, your 10 minutes are up, but I'm going to go ahead and give you another minute because of the computer issues, if that's okay. And then, thank you. Appreciate it.
And I'll be able to address any of the objections or questions that may come up, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to go into that when you were done, but go ahead.
Okay. Just very quickly, again, with a larger footprint for B3, that creates more opportunity for business development, more opportunity for income, which translates to the next benefit, and that would be additional tax revenue from the city for the city. Now, we have no way of knowing exactly what that would be. All right, any amount that we provide to you, we certainly are just giving you our best estimate. But in our internal best estimate, when you consider the income from the rental and also some of the condominium units will have businesses operating out of them, you could realize a tax income on an annual basis between upwards of $30,000 to $50,000 possibly. And then finally, I know there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not there's a need for another storage facility in this area. I realize there are others, but we did obtain a market study that we submitted as part of our materials council. And that market study concludes that there's unmet demand for storage in this area and that there is a need for additional high-end storage operations on that area in a 3 to 5 mile radius.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you getting the packet to us last week. So what we're going to go ahead and do now, did your client wish to address?
No, Mr. Sommer and again, Mr. Hassel from Adaptive Engineering Group are available to answer any questions that council may have. If I don't know the answer, then they're certainly here to fill in and provide the information that's requested.
Thank you very much. So what we will do now is when we call on somebody who's got their hand up, as I said, there's a 1 minute limit after you tell us who you are and what your position on the matter is. And any questions you may have to Mr. Lane, Mr. Summer, or Mr. Castle is totally valid, that they will be able to answer those questions. What I'm anticipating is that they could possibly answer the questions at the end of the people that come in, not necessarily one at a time. This is not a back and forth, but you have a right to ask questions. The applicant is not under a legal duty to answer questions. So if there are matters that are repetitive or something like that, the respondent does not or the applicant does not have to do that. So Ms. Fisher, is there anybody that's got their hand?
Okay, I'm going to go on my first screen first and get through everybody that wants to talk first. So the first hand I see come up is the one I'll call on. Bill McCourt. And Steve, will you do the timing, please?
Yeah, I'll do
Okay.
that.
All right, go ahead, Bill.
My name is Bill McCourt, 4135 Menlo Park Lane. I'd like to make an initial request that all letters received after Friday at noon be read either during this hearing or at City Council, based on the fact that there's a difference between public meetings and public hearings. This being a public hearing, it's supposed to operate where all written and verbal testimony is given and for consideration, right up until the time of the meeting, as if someone just walked up to the door and attended the public meeting. Having said that, I'd also suggest that there's several reasons why I'm against 2021-3. I don't believe that the rezoning request to B3 highway commercial is a permitted use, nor does it fit anywhere close to the description of conditional use as described in the city ordinances and the,
Mr. McCourt,
the charter.
Mr. McCourt, your time is up, but I'll give you another 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. Additionally, according to the December 2nd Planning Commission, they did not explain why the proposed plan was approved and presented to council. No impact study or economic study was completed to justify the proposed rezoning or the benefits to the surrounding neighbors or the city in general. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCourt. Who's next, Ms. Fisher?
I'm looking on my first screen. I'm going to just call, okay, Ellie Rastus. You have to unmute, please. You're muted. There you go.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. I'm Ellie Rastus, representing MSR Capital Management that owns the office building to the west of this lot. From the pictures that I saw from the attorney, there is nothing to show what they're going to do to benefit us to prevent the problems that are going to arise. This is a wetland. They need a retention basin, obviously, because they have it in the plans. What is going to happen with that stale water? It's going to be mosquito magnet. It's going to be, and that's not a pretty sight to see. We have a pond there. They tried to drain it. It's all back because of the water that keeps flowing from the south to the north. And I don't think any study or any questions to the ODNR or anybody of knowledge as to whether that land can sustain that kind of buildings. And where he tore out all the trees, we've got so many more water problems. And I'll tell you,
your time is up, but I'll let you finish up, okay?
All that water is going to wind up in my basement. My sump pump is going now. Where this water is going to wind up there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we have Meg Kuhn. Please unmute.
Hi, good evening. I live at 596 Hazelwood Avenue. I object to the rezoning. I do not like it. The main reason is residential value decrease. I think it would, we bought our home 20 years ago. We invested to live here. If this goes in, my home value will depreciate by thousands of dollars. And I don't think it's fair to us to bear the brunt of that. And then the serious flooding concerns. I don't believe an environmental study was even done. And I don't know if anybody took the time to look about a month ago when we got all that water and the backyards and everything were all flooded, and it all flows to us from the field. And then storage facilities produce noise and light pollution. People going in 24/7. We bought the property because it was quiet, and that'll be all gone. Storage units are.
Well, I'm gonna let you finish up, okay?
Okay. The crime. It is known that storage units do bring crime to the area. And that's my main concerns are the property value loss and the flooding and crime.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go, who's next?
Betsy Wakefield, did you have your hand?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, Betsy Wakefield. I live at 5626 Huron Street in Vermilion in the Harbortown District. First of all, I want to assure Attorney Lane and Mr. Sommers that my concern is solely based upon my feeling that spot zoning is not the best way to approach the visual impact that we want for that very important corridor that comes into Vermilion. And I also question that the plan adds no real tax value to the community tax base. So I did send in a letter that outlined the same statements. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it. Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to call on the people on my first screen, Steve, and see if they want to speak. That way I cover everybody. Robert Green.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to come in front of you. As I did in October.
Can I get your address, please?
I'm sorry, 4097 Ford Lane, Vermilion in Edison Estates.
Thank you.
As I did in October coming before you, I have the same concerns, even though Mr. Sommer has made minor modifications to his plan. Fundamentally, it's still a self-storage center. Fundamentally, there are 27 other self-storage centers within a 15-mile or 15-minute drive from Vermilion. The other issue that I really have about it with this is, as Ms. Wakefield said, is economic impact to the city. There has been no economic impact report. Why not? How can city council make an informed decision without a firm study written, not suggested or verbal, of the impact this might have on the city? And so therefore, I recommend and I ask you all to vote no on this 2021-3 ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Okay, the next person on my screen is Vito Camarata. Are you ready to speak?
Yes, thank you.
And an address, please.
Yep, Vito Camarata, 4840 Hiawatha, downtown Vermilion. Also accompanied by my father here, who may have something to say afterwards or down the line. I'd like to start out by saying, we do certainly encourage business growth here in town. My father and I both have businesses here. We're excited about certain prospects of new parks, the acquisitions of the land and land conservation efforts by Lorraine County Metro Parks. But yeah, we are certainly in strong opposition. Mr. Sommers' proposal. My father purchased his property at 555 Claremont about 30 years ago. That surrounding property was zoned residential when he bought it. He had expected it to remain residential when he built his house, and then through this time now. There's some concerns with the future of that property. If this does go up, the potential to develop that property, build homes on that property, if there's a commercialized zone in the backyard along the property line. Sommers' property line is about 10 feet from my father's back door. with a 10 or 15-foot buffer zone. There is no 250-foot buffer off of his property. It's almost sheared right down to the property line. And there's no say in this plan where there's proposed plans for the future, but we don't know what the setback will be used for. We don't know if the setback will be a driveway. And for the future development portion of the plans, we don't know what's going to go up there. Maybe nothing will go up there. I have concern. I'm curious, but I do have concern that we might see a land lot of storage for vehicles, RVs, or commercial vehicles, things of that nature. And without a plan,
Your minute's up, Mr. Camerata. But if your father would like to speak.
I don't see him on. Let's wait till we get to the screen.
Yeah, he's here.
Screen.
He's sitting right next
with
to me.
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
if I could just wrap it up.
Go ahead.
Here, I'm going to hand him the microphone. Hold on a second.
Name and address.
We need to talk into this.
Take your time. You're fine.
All right. Mr. Camerata, 555 Claremont, Vermilion, Ohio. I would like you to see the zoning, not the zoning at all. Keep the Vermilion in the beauty and build houses. Keep the storage away from a residential area. And that's the best for the 7 million, for the beauty to be walking in Vermilion. We have a mess in Vermilion. We need improving. And not be making them look at the messy with the junkyard, truck stop, storage. You mentioned it. We are humans, not animals. We should live the home and not trailer park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Next I have is Ingemar. Do you wish to speak? You're on mute. You need to unmute.
Gwen Ingemar Swala, 5324 Park Drive. No, I think everyone is on the same page as I am. No incentive for the city. I think everything's been said very well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zavala.
Okay, I have Homer Taft.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Homer Taft, 3972 Edgewater Drive, Vermilion. First, I have to raise a point of order. This is not a proper public hearing at this point. In addition to the fact that no 1 minute limit was announced in the public notice, it's not legal to do that at a public meeting. Also, I would ask for the record that every letter received at any time be made part of the record tonight and be listed in the record tonight. There was nothing in the notice, nor is there any lawful way to exclude people after Friday submitting written comments. I have submitted a number of written comments. One minute to anybody doesn't even give us beginning of enough time to respond to all of the issues here. But the principal issues are: number one, this is a spot zoning of 500 additional feet sandwiched in between two residential neighborhoods that's completely inappropriate and will destroy the ability of Mr. Camerata to develop his property in a residential development someday as he's interested. It destroys what's on the other side. Mr. Lane himself has said that whatever zoning you give, Mr. Summer can do anything he wants with it later.
Hold on. Mr. Taft, your minute's up, but I'm going to give you another 35 seconds because you had objected to the point of order. So I'm going to allow you another 35 seconds to go ahead and talk about your feelings on the zoning matter.
Thank you. Mr. Lane himself said that Mr. Summer can do anything with this property he wants once it's rezoned. He's said tonight there's going to be businesses running in there 24/7. This is not the right thing to do in that area. There's also a lot in his study. I wish there was time to raise it all, but I'll just highlight the fact that it says there's an overabundance of storage units within 3 miles of this facility without even counting 2 storage units that they didn't list down the street. The only way they get to an underabundance at 5 is by counting the lake as half of it. It's ridiculous. This is, it may make a profit for Mr. Summer, and while he's entitled to make profit, it's not to be made a profit at rezoning and ruining everybody's residential areas in our entire neighborhoods. The city is against it, the public is against it, and we will do everything we can to have this as an appropriate and nice residential development. Thank you.
Okay, Peter Corrigan, do you wish to speak? You need to unmute to
No,
let me know.
I'm fine, thank you. I'm not
Okay.
speaking.
Okay, owner, you do not wish to speak?
My name is Cliff Simonson, 4192 Ford Lane. I've already expressed my opinion in a letter I submitted last week.
Thank you. Okay, next, Joe Zemnick. Okay, you're good? All right, I'm gonna go to my next screen. Okay. Elaine Carlin, do you wish to speak? Unmute, please, if you do. Just shake your head yes or no if you're going to speak. No? Zach Honing?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, your name and address, please.
First name Zachary Honig, 1040 State Street, Vermilion, Ohio. Just a couple of grievances real quick. I understand that there's a sense of wanting to provide storage centers or facilities for the city. My only grievance is the fact that, we've spent the past number of years to clean up the city and try to beautify the city, if you will, no matter whether it's downtown or towards the east side by Baumhart. I'm in objection of this. I'm questioning what kind of applicants or availability will be allowed to use this storage facility when it's built. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Okay, and my next person I have, Terry Parker, are you wishing to speak? Unmute?
I am not, thank you.
Okay. I have Cliff, are you wishing to speak? Unmute, if please, to let us know. Okay. The Norrises, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I'd like to take just a few seconds to underscore the 5 questions that I submitted to.
Okay, I need your name and address, please.
I'm sorry, Neil Norris, 4154 Firestone Lane.
Okay.
I submitted 5 councils and comments to council. I do hope council take those under advisement. I'm hearing many folks here object to the particular use of this property. I commented regarding the aesthetics and the ability that council should have to be able to shape the eastern, the southern, and the western entries to the city of Vermilion to maintain it as a signature lakeside community. So I do hope council will take under consideration my questions in addition to the other comments that have been made here this evening. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Norris.
Okay, David Karowski, do you wish to speak?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, Diana Sumra, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Diana, do you wish to speak? If so, unmute. Okay, Lena Pelton, do you wish to speak? Marianne. Neil Akers. Bart Barna.
Hello. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Bart Barna, 836 Gardner Road, Vermilion, Ohio. Just quickly, I just want to say, Mr. Sommers, I'm really sorry that, it looks like, there's a lot of a huge outpouring here, and I know you're trying to do business. At the end of the day, if there's some differences for me would be, what we're going through at Elko, where we're going from, a different type of business use. Whereas here we're looking to go from residential to a business use. I don't personally think that storages cause extra crime. I don't think, going back, I don't think I've read a lot of glyph reports about crime from storage units in Vermilion. I'm sure that in areas that there can be that, but I really just don't think it's probably the best thing to put that in between those two residential areas. And that's the only reason I don't support it. I really wish we'd tackled this before you'd spent all the money to develop it. But at the end of the day, that's my feeling on that. I did want to bring up another point from last week's meeting hearings, where I was a little disappointed that we went back to the emergency vote on the museum with the extra little time I had. I didn't think that was appropriate. I didn't see where.
This is
Yes, sir.
public, yeah.
Yeah, real quick, we are going to be in a regular council meeting in a little bit, and we'll have it open to the audience. But this
Okay.
that's okay. And this particular hearing is simply related to the ordinance that I read, okay?
Gotcha, no problem. I came in late, so I apologize. Then yeah, I spoke my piece, and I wish everyone the best of luck, and hopefully this works out well.
All right, thank you.
All right, I'm going back to Diana.
Yeah. Am I
Name
here?
and address. Yep, name and address, please.
681 Hazelwood, Vermilion.
Please state your whole name.
Diana Summerall.
Thank you.
And I've been a resident here in Vermilion for 32 years. With living in the same home, I have taken my pride in everything. I have stuck to the city's compliances about parking, keeping my home up. I love my castle, which is my house. I love the neighborhood that I live in. Bringing in to the storage facility, whether it is whatever they want to make it, is not good. We are between two residential lots. Back in the late 80s, Mr. Sommers wanted to build a mobile home park in this property, and it was turned down. And I really hope that this is turned down. I have no problem with residential to be picked up and expanded, but to make this commercial, it's unfair as a homeowner. It's unfair to the residents of Vermilion. And that's how I really feel.
Thank you very much, Diana.
Okay, we have Richard.
you.
Do you wish to speak, Richard? Okay, I'm going on Drew Worley.
Yeah, I'd like to ask that I can share my screen though.
Is that okay, Mr. President?
Yeah,
I would like to enter into evidence, so.
enter it onto the record. If you could then print that out or whatever you're going to share, give it to the council clerk. And she can make it, if it's appropriate, part of the record.
Gotcha, okay. So Mr. Summers' counsel was able to file share, but her screen share, but I cannot. Is that what we're saying?
No, he said you can,
Oh, you
can share the screen. You just have to make sure you present it into public record and provide me with a copy of it.
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, now I stopped doing it because I thought you were saying I couldn't do it. So give me 1 second here. I just want to speak out and say that this is really about zoning, like we had talked about before. It has nothing to do with storage units. It's all about zoning, as Mr. Summers' counsel, Mr. Lane, had said. It's all about zoning. So to this alleged storage facility that's going to get put in place, I'm against it, as I said before. I believe it's a spot zoning. I don't think it's right to do that. What I've done here, real quick, show you guys this. It'll do it. There you go. This is the site plan that I got last from the city to show the site plan. I just wanted to show what it would look like. That's how big it is compared to Shozy. It's about the same size as Shozy, but to show you what it would look like in other areas of the city. Here it is on Vermilion Road.
You really can't see it, Drew, because you're not sharing your screen. You're just showing your screen.
I am. Oh,
I'll say, but that's it off of Vermilion Road. Here you can see what it would be like next to the high school. That's the current storage units on 60. This new one is about 3 times the size of that. Here you can see it over in the Woodlands as well. And last, I have it showing here over on West River Road too, just to
Okay,
show you the size.
your minutes up, but I'll give you another 30 seconds because of the computer glitch, okay?
That's right. Yeah, basically, I'm just against the rezoning as a whole. It has nothing to do with the storage unit. I actually think that we do need storage around here based off of the report that was put together. I just don't think it's right to change over 6 acres of land in between a residential area into commercial or business. And I have full faith in the council that they will vote this down no. So I don't think that we have anything to worry about, that you guys will pass this. I firmly believe that you will vote no on this. Thank you.
Drew, can I have your address, please, for the record?
Sorry. 5016 Timberview.
Thank you. Okay, next I have Mr. Dillon. Do you wish to speak? If so, unmute. Okay, Mr. Castle, do you wish to speak?
No, we'll pass, thanks.
Okay. North Coast News, do you wish to speak? Okay. I have someone identified as, let me see, iPad. Do you wish to speak? If so, please unmute and state your name and address.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I need your name and address if you're speaking.
I am Marcy McKay. I live at 4349 Tomahawk Lane in Vermilion.
Thank you.
Okay, and I also oppose the rezoning, and I'm wondering if Mr. Sommers, if this is voted down, if he still plans on going ahead with the 5 storage units anyway to the front with the condo building. I have seen the lot. I don't live right by it. I do feel bad for the people that live around there. I know there will be lighting issues. There will be people coming and going all hours of the night. They will come with motorcycles blaring also because they want to store their motorcycles in these units. I do find it hard to believe, I'm sure he's got the numbers though, I find it hard to believe that we need more storage units in Vermilion, especially with so many in the area. I don't think it adds much to that part of town that we're trying to beautify and build up, and we're trying to bring businesses in that have employees and will bring revenue to the city. They does look like a bomb went off in the area. They did remove every single tree, large and small. So no matter what kind of landscaping I feel that they plan on doing, they will not have anything that looks decent in the area for many years to come by the time it takes trees to grow up in that area.
Your minutes up, Marcy, so we appreciate it. I'll give you another few seconds if you wanted to make another quick point.
Okay, no, that's basically it. I do oppose it. And I just don't know if he would still plan on going ahead with building those units, even if the back area isn't rezoned, because then that would add so many more, and I disagree with it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe I've gotten everybody. If there's been somebody I've missed, can you please interrupt? I'll give you a minute here to interrupt if you need to talk. Okay, iPhone. I know you said you didn't want to speak earlier.
Well,
so
when he read the people that
I need your name and address.
Catherine Raddiff, 566 Hazelwood. When he said that he received letters from people and read the names, he did not have mine and my husband's name, so we are counted as opposed. We did send a letter in.
Catherine, what was your last name?
Raddiff, Raddeff. It was even posted, part of my sayings, in the journal.
You may have, I think you were read last week. Yours came in early and we read it under the city council meeting last week, I believe.
I did not know that was happening.
Yeah, because when you said it, I think you asked for it to be, so we went ahead and read it at the last meeting, but it's been, if it was on file. If not, I'm trying to, I don't see it here. There were some that came in after our deadline at noon on Friday.
No, mine came in last month sometime because I wrote it early.
Yours is on record at the last council meeting, so it has been attached to the official record of proceedings. Council read it.
Okay, so it does count as opposed to add to the ones that you did.
But
Yes.
because of
I
the
mean, my backyard,
because of the misunderstanding, you're free to take a minute and just tell us anything more you'd like us to know.
yeah, we moved here for retirement. We always liked coming out to Vermilion. Our backyard, I look out my backyard, I see the lot, I see Vermilion Road. I do not feel that if these storage bins are put there that we will feel safe at all, because we'll have people coming and going constantly. The noise alone, looking at it in our backyard. And my question is, if it was you or anyone else there, would you feel safe having that in your backyard, knowing anybody can be going in and out of there? And it's going to depreciate our home. We spent a lot of money redoing our house. We did it from top to bottom when we moved here to beautify it for the neighborhood. And now it's all going to go down. So I'm opposed completely.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say, Meg Kuhn, I just received your chat. We did recognize your letter at the last council meeting as well, and it was entered into the record.
Yeah,
Okay,
we did
that's
that
it.
in the list I have. Okay, thank you very much. Wanted to say, if everybody could go on mute, somebody that's not on mute. I wanted to say, Mr. Worley, if you wanted to share something, let's go ahead and send it by an email, however you want to do that. You don't necessarily have to print it out and bring it to council. So I want to thank everybody. So what I'm going to do at this point then is turn this back over to the applicant and his attorney. They have an opportunity to answer any questions that were brought up. So I'm going to give them that opportunity now, and that will be an additional 10 minutes. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to take the next few minutes and do my best to try to respond to all of the concerns that were raised by the various people that testified tonight. First, before I do that, let me tell you that every response I'm giving, I'm truly intending to be as respectful as possible. I understand that the positions that you've espoused to the council are heartfelt, and I'm not trying to disrespect those at all, but there is another side to the story, and I think council needs to understand that. First of all, with all due respect to Mr. Taft and Judge Wakefield, this is not spot zoning. Spot zoning is defined by the courts as treating zoning in one particular parcel different than the surrounding uses of property in an unreasonable fashion. I would ask the council to take a look, if you would please, at my exhibit number 7. Which is a portion of the zoning map. And you can see that the subject property is indicated on this in the southern portion. You can see the brown is the B3. That's the front of the property that's already designated as highway commercial. This area is littered with B3 zoning. And many of those B3 zoning parcels that are coming off Liberty are far deeper than the 250 that we currently have. And they're very comparable to the amount that we're asking for. So the petition for rezoning classification falls right in line with those other classifications. And again, with all due respect, is not spot zoning. With regard to the decrease in value, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what the values in that area are. I don't recall any actual evidence or studies or anything like that being presented in opposition to our application that would establish that. I think it's difficult for me to believe that the addition of a storage facility is going to decrease the value of the homes when there are already other commercial uses that are surrounding this neighborhood, including at least one other storage facility across the street. With regard to the flooding concerns, I don't think this is a reasonable reason to try to deny our application. Any development of this land brings with it surface water or storm water concerns. we are not going to be able to develop this property, whether it be residential, commercial, what have you, without the proper stormwater being addressed in the construction area. So that, again, it's not something that should be considered at this stage, at this hearing. It will be complied with any kind of requirements that the city has. As far as noise and lights.
If you can give me one moment, just hold that thought. Please do not use the chat mechanism. We will not be taking any questions other than that were asked a few moments ago. Once Mr. Lane and or his client are finished in the next few minutes, then that will conclude this hearing. Lane, thank you. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. With regard to the noise and light situation, certainly there's going to be lights coming off this property, but that's true whether or not you extend the B3 as we're requesting, or if it's in its original B3. There are other B3 properties surrounding this neighborhood that also have noise and lights. I really don't know how you can measure the additional amount of burden. I don't think I would submit that it's not sufficient enough to deny our application. As far as security and crime, I'm not aware of any significant crime problems that the established storage facilities have. I've not heard of this problem that many of the homeowners have testified to. And again, this is not going to be a situation where anyone can drive up at all nights or all times of the evening or times of the day. This is going to have a locked gate. You're only going to have access if you are a tenant with a code. So this is not something where there's going to be a lot of interlopers or people just driving in at any time. As far as it looking like a junkyard, again, I understand where you're coming from, but with all due respect, I take offense to that. Mr. Sommers would never allow something like that to happen. Any kind of tenant who resides at this property is going to have to adhere legally to a set of rules and regulations that will be part of this facility, that will prohibit the storage of anything outside of a storage facility. You're not going to be able to see anything on the ground. It will all be stored within the compartments themselves. There was a mention of not being able to approve our application without an economic impact report. I'm not aware of such a report being required by the ordinances of the city of Vermilion. I don't think it is. I don't think it's fair to require us to have something like that without prior notice. So I would ask the council to disregard that argument. Again, I understand where the homeowners are coming from. I respect that, but there's another side to the story here. There are benefits that this proposal would provide to the city. Again, this is a hearing on zoning only. There's a lot of issues with regard to the development of that property for a storage facility that would have to be answered at a later time, either by the BCA or the building department. But again, we would commit to the city council that any storage facility that is ultimately erected on the premises will be first rate and will be a benefit to the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lane. This concludes tonight's public hearing. We will take a 5-minute break and then we will go back and begin our regular council meeting. Thank you.
Gwen?
Gwen, this is Todd Summer. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, Gwen, is council going to ask any questions from our group?
Steve Heron. Steve? I think I lost him there for a minute. You'll have to hold for a minute for Todd.
Okay,
So he comes
thank you.
back on.
Mr. Sommers, I know that during our regular council meeting, council will have an option to speak at that time about this right before the vote. I don't know if that was what you were thinking, if you needed to hear from us or wanted to hear from us, I know we do have a chance to speak at that moment.
Yeah, it's usually the public hearing, a lot of times for us to hear the residents speak. So they can, when that's up for a vote, council can address,
Gotcha.
have discussion.
I'll still stay on then. Thank you.
Okay. Just wait for Steve to start the next meeting. If everybody will stay muted, that would be great.
Hey, Gwen,
Yes, Brian.
we're staying here. We're not going to another Zoom meeting. We're just staying on this one.
Nope, we're staying on this one.
All right, very good.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. I completely forgot, and my sincere apologies to my colleagues on council. And I know there was some discussion. Does anybody have any further questions from council for Mr. Summer, Mr. Lane? Okay, so Brian's hand and Barb's hand. Brian? You're on mute.
And this is only for council members at this time, just so I see some resident hands.
Yeah, just, again, I see the map. I just want to make sure the map is correct as far as the B3 on the west side. It seems like that R3 on the west side goes further back to the property to the west, which would be Camerata's property. So I just want to make sure that that's correct on that. It seems like that goes back a little further. Now, Mr. Camerata's house is considered B3. So, sorry, R3, residential. So I just want to make sure that map is correct. So I don't know if that's something that Matt Hassel and the city has to get together back on and make those corrections. So I just want that to be noted and checked on before anything goes any further.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Barb, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I guess basically I was going to mention the same thing. My understanding is that property to the west is also R3, which means Mr. Lane's comment is wrong because it would be the only place where a B3 would be sandwiched between two our residential districts. So that was one. The other thing is I don't remember until tonight hearing that businesses may be run out of these storage condos. That was something I certainly was not aware of. I guess my other question is the southern part, if you don't put storage units on it and they're not proposed in the initial drawing, are you gonna do boat and RV storage outside there? Excuse me.
All right.
Mr. President, can I respond to some of these questions?
Yeah, and I had to step away, and I apologize for that. So if there was a question before, feel free, and then we'll see if other council members have some more questions. Thank you.
Just real quick, Steve, I'll give it opportunity to have, I just have one more question, but I'll go ahead and let Mr. Lane go ahead and answer those questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
First of all, with regard to the map, I think you are correct, and I think this was discussed at the Planning Commission that one or more of the parcels behind the parcel fronting Liberty Avenue is R3. But Mrs. Brady, the parcel fronting Liberty, which is directly to the west of our parcel, is in fact B3. And so is many other property that's around that area.
But that whole area along Liberty is B3. We're talking about the rezone portion, which is south of that. And that will be between two residential zoning.
No,
it is
there will be one B3 to the west. And with regard to The other issue, again, we are not going to allow boats or any other large items to be stored in the open. As I said before, everything being stored in the facility at this point, the plan is it's got to be inside of a unit, so you won't be able to see it.
Okay.
Okay.
Ryan?
Yeah, so, I hear this, we talk about, we're going to donate this to the Lorraine County Metro Parks. Has that been confirmed? Has that been in writing, or is that just a shake of a hand or word of mouth? Is that actually going to happen?
As far as, is there any kind of contract in place? Is that what you're referring to, Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, because right now all we have is word of mouth.
Well, there is no contract in place, but, we are representing to council in a public hearing that is our intention if the plan for development proceeds. And there has been discussion with the Park District with regard to that, and they have expressed an interest.
Okay.
Any other members of council have a question? I don't have all the screens in front of me, so Gwen, I'm counting on you.
All right, hold on, let me make sure.
Thank you.
Emily, Steve Halifax, Frank. Okay, you can get, I don't think anybody else has got their hands up.
Okay. And again, my apologies for stepping away and omitting the important issue. So I thank you all. We are now going to take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and begin our city council meeting. So
Steve, we're staying in the same meeting. Do you just want to go right into it? Because we're supposed to go immediately into our next meeting.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll begin with Vermilion City Council. Good evening. Welcome to Vermilion City Council meeting of Monday, February 1st, 2021. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of reflection or silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Gwen, please call the roll.
Skahan,
Here.
Brady,
Present.
Luca. Frank on mute.
Here.
Holmes,
Here.
Stark,
Here.
Aaron.
Present. We have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 25th, 2021 council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Brady,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Halifax,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Skahan,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. 1 second, please. Okay, we'll go next to correspondence. We have 3 letters to be read into the record. I'm going to go ahead and read them tonight. Vermilion City Council. This is from Ben Chris of Liberty Avenue. Pardon me. I'm having a tough time tonight, so bear with me. We of the Save the Harborview Mansion group had gathered at Martino's restaurant to participate in last week's meeting. Much to our dismay, the internet connection was terrible and we were unable to present our solution to the most beneficial use of the property. I informed Devin Hardwick of Preservation Ohio of our difficulty so he could speak for us, but he could not get recognized even though he was on the itinerary. Our position, along with an overwhelming majority of Vermilion residents, is that to destroy our last landmark to create a green space is ill-advised. No one is going to walk across the street to marvel at the site of a former historic masterpiece, but visitors will come from miles around to enjoy the proposed children's museum, Vermilion Shore Boardwalk, murals, and picnic area. We are already plagued by empty storefronts, and by the time COVID has worn itself out, who knows what will be left. Our plan will primarily benefit the businesses and citizens of Vermilion because of the influx of tourists who will provide much needed revenue while preserving Vermilion's storied past. We ask to be able to present a more detailed description at the next council meeting since we did not get to last week. Please do not take this lightly. We are doing this for our businesses, our children, and grandchildren. Thank you, Ben Chris. Next is dated January 24th, 2021. This is from Julie Rohl, ROHL, of Preservation, Ohio. Honorable council members. Excuse me. I am writing in regards to your beach revitalization project, and more specifically, the planned demolition of the National Register listed Harbor View Mansion and Maritime Museum. Due to the way in which comments were accepted, closed, and elements of the nature of virtual meetings, I feel neither the members of the Concerned Citizens Group or the Preservation Ohio representatives present at the January 4th meeting had the opportunity to be truly considered. That said, I appreciate you now taking the time to read this letter. As you likely realize, many communities would be beside themselves to have the natural assets of Vermilion in a heritage space such as the Harbor View Mansion to anchor their historic district. I and other members of Preservation Ohio believe the economic potential of the building could be realized through an exciting reuse plan, such as the creation of an interactive children's museum. This concept would complement existing businesses and draw families not only to visit, but to live in Vermilion. If you consider the success of Little Buckeye in Mansfield, including grants received, awards won, and the $1.5 million in economic impact generated per their website, you can imagine what a version of it in the museum space adjacent to your beachfront revitalization project could bring to your downtown. Picture year-round groups on field trips from neighboring counties, homeschool meetups, STEM classes, and play dates. Summertime parents, grandparents, and caregivers with hot beach-worn children seeking air conditioning could relax inside and extend their play. Now picture the same families walking back downtown for dinner to round out the day instead of trekking sweatily back to their cars and houses in the afternoon. Perhaps there could be a walkable loop established that highlights fun, family-friendly locations. Such a loop could also be marketed as promoting healthy physical activity with wayfinding prompts. Small events such as birthday parties could have exclusive approved Vermilion caterers as the only food allowed to be brought in, further strengthening existing businesses. Finally, imagine jobs being created to manage and market the programming and oversee operations. In closing, I only ask that you reconsider how keeping the Harbor View Mansion and former Maritime Museum could enrich your city and be worth your return on investment to restore in keeping with this plan or another. Sincerely, Julie Rohl, Preservation, Ohio. Devin Hardwick, Preservation, Ohio, letter dated January 24th, 2021. Honorable council members, I'm writing to you in regards to the beach revitalization project. I sat in on your Zoom meeting on Monday, January 4th, and was unable to speak and was also unclear as to what was being discussed and voted upon. As I understand it, part of the revitalization project is to raise the historic Harbor View Mansion. I serve on the board of directors of Preservation Ohio, the oldest statewide historic preservation advocacy group in the state. Much of what we do is to assist city governments and nonprofits in the restoration of historic properties. I would like to express my thoughts as they relate to this historic building. As Mason trained in historic techniques and with an extensive knowledge of stone, brick, and concrete, I have never seen a masonry building which has sat empty for a number of years in such excitant condition. This home was built with a quality and care which we will never see again in the construction world, and to demolish this structure would be a great loss to your community and to the world of architecture. I understand the need for change in a growing community and to create new draws for tourism, but I asked to consider the value of this building. Tourism that surrounds historic buildings is a multi-million-dollar a year industry from which many other businesses are created. By preserving this historic home, you will be creating a lasting legacy which will continue to serve your community long into the future. Sincerely yours, Devin Hardwick, Preservation, Ohio. Is there any other correspondence, Ms. Fisher?
No, that was it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the President of Council's report. I want to just make a quick comment on something that happened today in our city. Most of you probably know, but there was a bomb scare at the middle school today. And I just want to compliment and express my sincere gratitude to our police department. I know the sheriff's office was involved. I know our fire department was involved in handling this situation. It's my understanding that the kids were moved from that building to, I think they went to the high school if I'm not mistaken, but they were moved out of that building, and parents were notified, and everybody was safe, and it was handled orderly, as I understand, to the way that the teachers and the staff and law enforcement, fire department all trained for this. So it's a terrible thing to see in your city when somebody does something like this, calls in a bomb threat. But just wanted to give a shout out to our first responders. So with that, I don't have anything further. We do not have response to the audience. Open to the audience, we're certainly going to do that, but depending on how many people are, we may put a time limit on it. And we're not going to entertain further commentary concerning the hearing we had, but certainly welcome to talk about how I did it. If you wish to express pleasure or displeasure to the proceeding, how I went about it, you're certainly free to comment on that. But as far as the ordinance itself, we will not be doing that. So, is anybody would like to speak and open to the audience?
So I need a raise of hand or a reaction if you want to speak. Bill McCourt.
Thank you. I really just have a question regarding the applicant's exhibit package as it relates to which part of the application is correct in terms of the site plan versus the mock-up views. According to the site plan, that I believe is page 11. It's the last one before the mock-up views, and it describes immediately south and parallel to Liberty Avenue, an 8-foot black fence. And I don't see such a fence on the mock-up view, and I'm wondering which one is accurate.
Okay, well, we're not going to do question and answer during open to the audience, but we will be, if some member of council would like to address that during our discussion, that when that comes up, that may come up and that may provide you the answer you like, okay?
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Look
Open to the
here.
audience. Anybody? Okay. All right, so we do have two matters under new business.
True Worley's got his hand up, Steve.
Okay, you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would like to speak as well.
Go ahead.
Drew.
Go ahead, Bart. I
Drew,
raised my
go-
hand for Bart because you guys didn't see it.
Well, it's when I see him. So go ahead, Drew, and then I'll let Bart come in after you.
First, I think that if anyone chooses to speak about the public hearing, then they can. According to the rules of council, you can. I urge you not to limit anybody below 5 minutes because it's also part of your rules of council. But I want to say that I think what you guys did last week was egregious in voting by emergency. What was it? Ordinance 2021-5, I believe. The issuance of and sale of bonds to raise the Maritime Museum. At the beginning of the public hearing, it was stated that it's important to hear from the members of the city, and no one had an opportunity to do that. It was brought up once at one city council meeting last week. After open to the public, no one got a chance really to speak against it. You guys chose to waive the rules and vote by emergency. You waived the second and the third reading, it looks like, and approved it. I think that's completely wrong. I didn't hear a real reason as to why it was an emergency. You know, you said it was for the health and safety of the community, but there's no actual reason. Now, I haven't looked at the ordinance to see if it's stated in there the actual reason, but just stating for health and safety is not sufficient. I don't think you guys should have done that. Unfortunately, legally, there's no recourse for us as citizens to combat that, that I know of. But I think that was wrong that you guys did that. You know, a couple of us got together at council before and had to inform you as to the dangers of passing things by emergency and the removal of a right referendum. And I strongly think that what you guys did was wrong. And I have a feeling that if you talk to the majority of the community, they would agree. I think that you should have allowed the people to have a voice on that subject. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Worley. And
Barna.
Yes, Bart Barna, 836 Gardner Road. You know, along the same lines of what Drew said, guys, I know you're all public officials and you don't get paid hardly anything to do this, and you do this out of the kindness of your heart for the community. But at the end of the day, we're all one big community. And so we have to really look at some of these things. This has been going on for a couple of years with the mansion. And whether I support that or don't support that, that's one thing. But you can tell by the outpouring of letters after the fact that maybe we might have rushed this by doing an emergency vote. I urge you to truly save those emergency votes for emergencies. You know, let's go through that hearing process. Unless there's something that's going to be detrimental to our community's health and or safety, or or a large financial, you know, hit for some reason, you know, then obviously we need to make those the emergencies. But again, I said this a couple of weeks ago, I would really like to see emergencies as the exception, not the rule. That's really all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Barna.
Homer Taft,
Hi, Homer, you want
Trying.
to? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President Heron, members of council, members of the administration. First of all, very briefly on 2021-5, I guess it was, I have to agree. I was concerned when Mrs. Fisher reported that there were letters, but they were received after Friday, and then council went ahead and passed this by emergency and included the demolish language that seems to mandate demolish when it was probably unnecessary, and you could have just said rehabilitate or demolish and moved on to that decision later and at least heard from the people. I thought was terribly unfortunate, and I wish you'd correct it. Since the rezoning is on tonight for Mr. Sommers' property, I'll also raise a couple things that there was not time to raise during the extremely limited conversations, and I wish there was more time because there's a lot more. But they keep referring to condo units that are going to be businesses, and yet if they're legally condos, it can't be on the same parcel as something that's not commonly owned by the condo association. And if it is a condo association, then they're not running it. And if Mr. Lane is correct, and I think he is, that this is about the rezoning and none of the use, and the developer could change his mind or the new owners could change their mind later. I really wish that we'd have a response to what this thing is about condos. The other thing that really troubles me is Mr. Sommers stated that he's donating the eastern 220 feet to the Metro Parks, but then he turns around and said for a driveway and a parking lot, which would exacerbate stormwater that's already a huge problem in the area right up against the Hazelwood residents. And I'd like to know, I noted that the Parks Director was on, so he might even be able to answer it, but I'd like to know from Mr. Lane or Mr. Summer, what is this business about the parking lot and the driveway? Thank you.
Okay, Homer, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask, you did ask a question, so as you know, under our charter, we answer it at the next council meeting or when we can. Are you talking about the parking lot in the Sommers issue? Is that what you're referring to? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm talking about that Mr. Summer stated, and I would have to go back. I can't recall whether, I think it was before Planning Commission on this issue, that he was donating the 220 feet instead of the 150 feet that he was now making this so-called buffer.
Okay.
What's that?
I said you wanted clarification. I'm just trying to get the specific question down because our charter mandates that we're going to respond to.
Yes, and he stated, well, this would be actually a question for Mr. Summer as much as anybody, but he stated it would be a parking lot and a driveway for the Metro Parks. That was his statement before the Planning Commission.
Well,
and I was seeking clarification of that.
And then I'll discuss that with the administration, but they will have to answer your question. Okay. All right.
All right.
Anybody else, Gwen?
Todd, did you have your hand up or no?
No.
Okay, let me check. I don't see anybody else's reaction or hand at this moment.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay, now we'll go to new business. We have two matters. I'm going to make a motion to table the third reading of ordinance 2021-1, which is set for a third reading tonight, but it's going to be subject of a public hearing on February 8th, a week from tonight. So get the numbers mixed up here. So that's my motion. It is set for third reading. That's ordinance 2021-1.
Second.
Frank? Okay.
Any discussion?
All right, Brady?
Yes.
Skahan? Unmute, Emmy? Emily Skahan,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Halifax,
Yes.
Holmes. Brian, unmute. Is Brian on?
He was on.
Oh, he just got bumped out. I'm admitting back in, so we'll hold on 1 minute. Stark
Yes.
and Heron.
Yes.
Let me wait for Holmes. Brian, are you on?
Yeah, sorry, I got knocked off.
Okay, Brian, we need, we're voting on the tabling of third reading of ordinance 2021-1. Your vote is yes or no?
I'm sorry, I just need to be reminded again of.
That is the,
I'm sorry.
Junkyard ordinance that we're going to have a public record hearing on next week.
Yeah, yes,
that's the
sorry.
junkyards.
Yeah, I apologize. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you. I'll say the next thing we're going to do in a new business, we do have the review of two resolutions, 2021. I'm having trouble with the year tonight. R-3 and 4. I am a direct everybody's attention to Chris Howard, city engineer.
Thank you, Council President. Actually, I have a couple items to bring up tonight under new business. Resolution 2021 R-3 and 4 is in regards to the Safe Routes to School project. The passing of these resolutions is the first step in the process of having appropriation cases filed for the subject parcels. There are certain steps that have to be followed by the city to have the right-of-way certification completed in order to have ODOT proceed with the project. The next item is ordinance 2021-7. This is in regards to the urban paving project in Erie County. ODOT has provided us with a final resolution for the project. The city's estimated cost is now $363,978.60. I ask that this be passed tonight. And then the third item, I would like to request a motion from council to go out for bid for the demolition of the Wakefield home and former Inland Seas Maritime Museum building. Council has already approved the funding for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Howard, you wanted the two resolutions tonight?
Please.
And then 2021-7, and then a
Correct.
motion to go out to bid for the demo of the Wakefield home.
Correct.
Okay, so kind of direct
What?
your attention on.
Want to do the motion first for the demo?
Yeah, we can do them. Well,
We have to do that under new business, so.
we can do that. Is there a motion to allow the administration to go out to bid for that project?
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion. Any discussion? Okay, thank you. Gwen?
Luca,
Yes.
Halifax,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Skahan,
Yes.
Brady,
No.
Heron,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so let's,
Then we can proceed with the reading of the ordinances then.
okay. But I'm going to follow up because it's new business. I did have a question and Mr. Howard, just specifically, and if you went through this, I apologize. What is the necessity of 2021-7? Is there a deadline that we need to meet with respect to get that going?
Yes, ODOT emailed us Friday and they need this ordinance passed. We have to have it to them by the 20th and our next meeting is until the 22nd. This is just, we passed preliminary legislation before. This was approved by the central office and they revised the number. We have final resolution now.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any, anybody else have a question for Mr. Howard? Thank you for answering that. Okay. Okay, we'll now go to the reading of the ordinances. Mr. Stumphauser, you don't have to read the tabled ones.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the first ordinance that we would read then is third reading of ordinance number 2021-3, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
It's an ordinance enacted pursuant to chapter 1266 of the codified ordinances of Vermilion, rezoning land in Vermilion, Ohio, and containing an area of approximately 6.323 acres from R3 Suburban Residence District to B3 Highway Commercial District land use classification is favorably recommended by the Vermilion Municipal Planning Commission, authorizing the city engineer to amend the official zoning map of the city of Vermilion to conform herewith. The said map has been established by section 1268.02 codified ordinances of Vermilion upon the effective date hereof.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-3 and declare, no, we're not declaring anything on this. So motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Council, yes, Councilwoman Brady.
So I think we had an open question about the fencing that I'll just ask if Todd or somebody can answer.
Barb, I can answer. There is fencing around the complete property, okay? With the exception of the west side, because the building on the west side is going to be part of the, let's say, barricade for any intrusion onto the property. But that's open for discussion. We're not at any means on a finalization if it's going to be a 4-foot fence, 8-foot fence. It's something we have to discuss with the building inspector and proceed that way.
Okay.
Monica?
Yeah, I have one question, and then I have a statement here that I'd like to read. My question is actually for the mayor. Mayor, you've worked so hard on this east end of the community to develop business and to improve that end of the community. If you were still on council with us, how would you be voting with us tonight?
This is a trick question.
It is not a trick question. I just know how hard you've worked over here.
Well, actually, I've been given a new job, and in that new job, I have to look at the overall benefits of the community. I mean, you know what? I'm in the same boat as you are. I feel on one hand that it's Mr. Sommers' property, and that if he's not doing anything illegal, he should be able to do what he wants on his property. However, I also understand that there are a great number of residents who are reacting to the proper question of should this zoning be redone and have it affect their benefits. So I can see it both ways. Fact is that even if this is voted no, Mr. Sommers still has the frontage property that he could continue to develop, whether this is, and that's already zoned highway commercial. So I think that this project probably is going to go forward regardless how the vote occurs tonight.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to read a statement that I wrote. We've received a lot of information on this project. This has been heavy on our minds, all of us on council for the last couple of weeks. So I apologize, but I had to put all my thoughts down on paper. So if I sound like I'm reading, I am. I'm going to start with, once again, we've received so much communication on this, and I totally understand how difficult this is. Change is difficult. All of us here on council, we were elected to do what's best for the entire community of Vermilion, and we always need to remember that. I've read all of the communications we've received. Gwen's been so great sending them. I was at work this morning and my computer kept dinging and dinging, and I'm like, what is that? It was all the emails that she had received over the weekend, and she was forwarding all of those to us. So I read those over lunch. So we've had tons of communications. A lot of the concern I'm reading is about crime and lowering property value. That's a majority of the communications that we're hearing. We do have 2 other storage units, businesses in the direct vicinity of this proposed business. I did ask for a public records request of the crime that has been committed over, actually I got since 2010, I got all the police reports that have been happened at those properties, at those 2 properties. There was only a handful of police reports. One was theft. There was one that was a bad check that was passed. There was one that was somebody who was arguing with the owner about not wanting to pay their rent. There was one about two of unrelated that had to do with the other aspects of those businesses. You know, they do rent or sell golf carts, and they do sell propane, those type of things. They were unrelated to the storage units. So since 2010, a handful of crime reports on those two properties. So to me, that was pretty encouraging. These really are not crime-ridden types of businesses. I, in the last couple of years, moved here in town, and during my transition, I had to rent a storage unit. Actually, I rented 2 storage units, and in the time that I was there at those storage units over the 6-month period that I had them, one time did I run into somebody else on the property that was also getting into their units. Yeah, and I was in and out quite a bit. So it's not like there's a huge volume of people going in and out of them. I was very impressed at the safety that I felt while I was there. So that's one of those things that I was like, well, I'm not feeling the crime aspect of this. As far as property values at the east end of town, I feel that Vermilion growing is only going to improve all of our property values. The more prosperous businesses that we bring in is going to make our property values grow. A beautiful Whispering Shores community of condos and apartments was built much closer to the other 2 storage units than what it's going to be here. That community is an absolutely beautiful community that continues to expand. Keep in mind, as this property is currently zoned, the front 250 feet of this property would be allowed to become many, many different businesses. I have a whole list here of businesses that could become. These include a gas station. I'm not sure if this was my property. I have a field in the back of my house that I don't own. And if the owner of that would put storage units on compared to a gas station, I'll take the storage units. Or compared to a bar that somebody could open right there, I'd take the storage units. And like I said, there's about 20, 25 different businesses that are allowable uses right now. So, once again, change is hard, but sometimes we have to think about what we could get instead of, one thing looks bad until you get the next thing. The section that they're looking to rezone is only 500 feet deep. The Metro Park will have a possible access drive to the east end of the proposed storage units to access the acreage behind the donated, or behind the Metro or the storage units. It's going to be donated. And behind that is many, many more acres that already belongs to the Metro Park. When I envision what that might look like, I went over to Beaver Creek in Amherst the other day, a property that's owned by the Metro Park that has a nice long drive there. I don't know any Lorraine County Metro Parks that are ill-kept and not extremely nice. They have a really top-notch way of keeping their properties. They patrol them, they keep them clean and safe. I wouldn't mind having a Metro Park in my backyard. We say Vermilion is welcoming to new businesses. And that's what I want to have Vermilion be, welcoming to new businesses. The east end of town, we say we want to see it grow, but this isn't how we grow it. This is really, to me, quite sad how there's so much against a business wanting to come to town. I'm sure that Mr. Sommers isn't feeling real welcomed right now to open his business here in town. It's just, to me, it breaks my heart. Lastly, I'm very saddened by the way council's hand seems to be being forced with the threat of a group of citizens saying that they're petitioning to put this on the ballot. If we don't vote no on this, you're going to put it on the ballot. And I'm sure a lot of our community members don't realize how much that's going to cost our city government. Putting an issue on the ballot is not free. It costs the city thousands of dollars on top of the legal fees that we would have to pay that would go along with putting that on the ballot. So I think that we really need to put this in perspective. These are the reasons that I plan to vote yes on this ordinance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Stark. Anybody else on council have a comment? Anything? Okay, Mr. Holmes?
Thank you, Council President. I just ask that council members remember how they voted on October 26th. This is just not about one individual. It's about the city itself. And yes, I do welcome business. I would just prefer it to be a business that that everybody can get around, that the community and all the individuals involved throughout the whole city can get around. And I think it's something that definitely, again, if it ends up not going through, yes, Mr. Sommers has the 250 he can certainly develop, and there's obviously nothing we can do about that. But I would ask that you guys again stand with your vote that you stood with on October 26th at the first public hearing, and listen to the residents. Think of Vermilion. Think of what Vermilion's going to need to be, what the Vermilion's going to look like in 10 years, what that corridor could be, and what kind of legacy we want to leave our future residents of Vermilion. What could be there? Could be houses. It could be actual houses where people come and live in Vermilion, pay taxes in Vermilion, spend their time in Vermilion, open up a business, or maybe generate more folks to come into Vermilion. So, vote on school levies. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at bringing more people into Vermilion, not bringing more stuff into Vermilion to store. So I would ask that you remember your vote on October 26th, again, 2020. And that concludes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Any other members of council? Just want to make a quick point that however, I'm sorry.
Emily, sorry.
Emily, I'm sorry, Emily, I didn't see you.
Thank you. I just want to make a statement that to rest assured that I would never cast a vote based on any threats. And I just want to make that clear. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, I just want to make a quick point. However you come down on this issue, I know both sides want a better Vermilion. This is a very difficult issue. Anytime you tell somebody that yes, no, what they can do with land they own is government action that is serious. It's serious, and so I know everybody on council is taking it seriously. So, with that, is there any further discussion regarding this?
Steve, this is Todd Summer. Could I briefly speak?
We normally don't.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
When we're discussing, it's just council, open to the public. But
okay,
I apologize. Thank you. Any further council members have a statement? Okay, Gwen.
Gahan.
No.
Brady.
No.
Luca.
Yes.
Hollivax.
Yes.
Holmes.
No.
Stark. Unmute.
Trying to find my unmute. I can't find it fast enough. Yes.
Heron.
No.
So 3 yeses, 4 nays, that the motion fails. So the ordinance did not pass.
Okay, Mr. Stumphauser, proceed with the reading of ordinance 2021-4.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I also wanted to tell you, I think you and I had a discussion earlier this week. We're going to revisit this ordinance simply to make certain that there are, as well as ordinance 2021-1, since it's so comprehensive, we want to make certain there are no typographical errors or references to zoning districts, etc. So having said that, this is a second reading of ordinance 2021-4. An ordinance amending section 1260.06 definitions.
Okay, and that'll go to a third reading, and we'll consider possibly tabling that, given where you are, Mr. Sumphauser, on your review, okay?
Thank you very much.
We proceed with 2021-6.
This is the first reading of ordinance 2021-6, an ordinance amending chapter 1460 of the codified ordinances of the city of Vermilion entitled Flood Damage Reduction and declaring an emergency.
We'll go to a second reading, proceed.
First reading of ordinance 2021-7, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the urban paving project Erie County and declaring an emergency.
We have a motion to suspend the rules with respect to ordinance 2021-7 and declaring emergency.
So move.
Second.
Glenn?
Luca,
Yes.
Alavax,
Yes.
Gahan,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
motion carried.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-7 declaring an emergency.
So moved.
Moved. Second.
And what it's worth, I know there's discussion about emergency. I consider this to be in the city's citizens. Eventually, the project is for the health of the citizens. Hold on one second, folks. All right.
Brian.
ODOT giving us a deadline is very important. So I'm going to support, I'm going to vote yes. Declaring an emergency. Hold on. Hold on, Gwen.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Mute yourself, Brian. I'm just kidding.
Gotta love Zoom. You're at any discussion, Steve.
I don't know if it came through or not, but I was just describing that the ultimate project is for the health of the citizens, and that ODOT's when ODOT calls and says you got a deadline,
Yeah,
in the best interest to take care of it that way. So if that's not good enough for some folks, I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel about this particular situation. Make a comment.
we're good.
Okay. Brady,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Alavax,
Yes.
Gahan,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
motion carried.
You proceed.
Mr. Council President,
Yes.
so we could put an end to this continual issue regarding declaring various ordinances as emergency. I was going to write you a memo, but it's simpler just to make a statement in public. To get around that issue, where you have language, for example, in this particular case of the urban paving district project, Erie County, and declaring an emergency, all you have to add is after the word emergency, the emergency being, whatever it happens to be. So if it's funding, if it's to meet the time requirements for the time of the year, whatever it happens to be, that definitizes the emergency and meets any court interpreted requirement regarding emergencies. So henceforth, I'd be glad to work with Gwen so we could define what an emergency is. Okay.
Okay, and what, just real quick, and I appreciate that. When Mr. Taft and Mr. Worley and kind of brought this up, I did some further research, and I have a concern that the O'Loughlin case may require more than that. And that O'Loughlin case, Ohio Supreme Court case, and it to me, it's up in the air. So I'm not really disagreeing. I'm just giving you where my concern is, and I at least want the record to reflect, my opinion on it. Now, I don't speak for every council member. I don't speak for the city. I'm just giving but I want the record to reflect that there is thought about why this was to do that. But I would appreciate, if you could get us that memo and make sure we're within the parameters of the O'Loughlin matter, the O'Loughlin case, which I can say.
All right, very good. I'll do that. All right, I'll read the next. It's a second reading of resolution 2021 R-2. a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Vermilion, Ohio to accept the terms and conditions of a certain agreement with the state of Ohio Department of Natural Resources relative to the allocation of funds for the maintenance of a marine patrol and declaring an emergency.
We'll go to a third reading. Proceed.
First reading of ordinance, resolution 2021 R-3, a resolution declaring it necessary to appropriate an interest in land from James E. McDonald and Diana L. McDonald for the purpose of constructing a sidewalk as part of the city's Safe Routes to Schools project in the city of Vermilion and declaring an emergency.
Do we have a motion to just suspend the rules with respect to resolution 2021 R-3?
So moved.
Second.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Halifax,
Yes.
Skahan,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
motion carried.
Do we have a motion to adopt resolution 2021 R-3 and declaring an emergency?
So moved. Second.
Yeah, my philosophy on this is that the ultimate project, which has been over our heads forever, is for the ultimate health and safety of the city, and the recommendations made by Mr. Howard, I think this qualifies as the proper use of that, of declaring this an emergency and passing it by emergency. Any other questions, comments about this particular? Yes, Councilwoman Stark.
Yeah, I just want to say I am so happy that we're finally getting to the end of this, where we're going to be able to get those sidewalks built for the kids. When you drive towards the schools in the morning, right before and right after, in the afternoon after school, there's kids walking all over in the street on Sanford Street. It's very unsafe. And I look so forward to having sidewalks for these students to walk on for their safety.
Thank you. Any other members of council wish to make a comment?
Brian does.
Brian,
Holmes, you're not on my
Yes.
screen, buddy. So it's not
Oh,
gonna-
I'm sorry. I don't know how you missed this beautiful face. Yeah, I'd like to echo Mrs. Stark's same thing. You know, if we're going to declare emergency, this is definitely an emergency because it's children walking on the roads. There's no sidewalks. We need to think of our children's and our children's safety up and down that street, because a lot of them, walk to school every day, and we need to provide them a safe route for sure. So thank you for everybody that's been patient, and thank you that we hopefully get this moving and passed. Thank you.
Frank.
Mr. Luca.
Yes, I'd like to just.
You cut out, Frank. Frank, you cut out.
Oh, how about now?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I would just like to shout out to our city engineer, Chris Howard, for wading through the incredible amount of work that needed to be done to jump through the hoops to get this project forward finally. Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm going to make a quick comment. Anybody else? Yeah, here's my thing about this, and it's very emotional to me, frankly, is that these sidewalks are going to be handicapped accessible. The curbs are going to be engineered so that folks who can get exercise on that walking route can do so easier. They're going to be, it's my understanding, they're going to be wider, and they're going to be, it's just going to make a better community for our population that needs a little bit of help with that. So to me, it's extremely important. So I appreciate you indulging me in that comment. Anybody else have a question or comment before we vote? Go ahead.
Okay, Skahan,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Halifax,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Heron,
Yes.
motion carried.
Proceed.
Ken, you're muted. You're still, okay, there you
So
go.
drop my iPad. All right. First reading of resolution 2021 R-4, a resolution declaring it necessary to appropriate an interest in land from Isaac J. Drost for the purpose of constructing a sidewalk as part of the city's Safe Route to Schools project in the city of Vermilion and declaring an emergency.
We have a motion to suspend the rules with respect to resolution 2021 R-4 and declare an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Second,
Gwen?
Brady,
Yes.
Hollivax,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Skahan,
yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
motion carried.
We have a motion to adopt resolution 2021 R-4 and declare an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
I think this warrants passing by emergency for the same reasons as 2021 R-3. So I'm not going to go into any of it further. Councilman Hollivax.
To Chris Howard, these are basic easements so that we can put the sidewalk in to get the extra property we need to construct it. Are these the only two left, or are there any more that we need to go after?
These are the last two remaining
Thank you.
parcels that we were unable to acquire those easements.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Any other questions, comments from members? Okay, Gwen.
Stark,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Hollivax,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Skahan,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, so we do have next week at 6:00 p.m. We will have a public hearing regarding ordinances 2021-1 and 2021-4. That'd be 6:00 by way of Zoom. If you wish to join, please contact the city council clerk. Then we will have our council committee meetings directly following that ordinance, that public hearing. We will not have, I was about to say, we will not have school. We will not have council on the 8th. No, we will. On the 15th, I beg your pardon, it's President's Day. We will meet back on the 22nd, regular council meeting. And then transient rental work session will be after that. That way we can have a discussion concerning the matter of transient rentals, which is one of our tabled ordinances. So with that, wish everybody be safe outside. Continue to,
Can I have one comment?
yes, go ahead,
On
please.
March 8th, I have a tentative stormwater committee meeting scheduled
Thank
at
you.
6:00 p.m. So I'll keep everybody up to date if we're going to go through with that.
Okay. March
And that
8th.
and that again will be either via Zoom or back in session, but I think we're going to reassess when we get to March.
All right. Okay, thank you. So we are now at adjournment, and I will see everybody back here next week. Thank you.
See you later.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Everybody leave meeting,